Hi, and welcome back to yet another installment of whatever this project is. The pandemic has obviously continued, but pandemic aesthetic has evolved. We have cooling temperatures, so we brought back the hoodie and the zip up situation. However, I'm serving 3/4 length pants and a shaved leg. We've got the overfull wine glass, tried and true, and the blowout. Although the blowout is more of like a pompadour helmet, which I'm sure we'll look back and be like, that was groundbreaking. But right now I'm kind of uncomfortable. So anyway, tonight's recipe is inspired by the mayor of Twitter, the one and only, generally accepted as not a terrible person, Chrissy Teigen, and her passion project, Cravings. Super popular. Don't mean to downplay passion project, it's literally like a sensation. So I don't own Cravings, so I figured why not use one of her latest kind of viral videos and viral recipes as a way to pay homage. Turns out the last one was a Spicy-Miso-Carbonara. Carbonara happens to be my favorite food pretty much of all time, so perfect opportunity. So now, typically carbonara is pasta with a silky, decadent sauce made up of eggs, pecorino romano, sometimes parmesan, black pepper, and guanciale, which is the jowl meat made into a bacon form. Think of it as like pork cheek bacon. So, and if you need some carbonara porn, follow Carbo Gang on Instagram. Amazing. So, Chrissy presents this recipe as kind of a crossover dish. So Asian influence, Italian origin. And like it definitely is that and it's amazing for that. But I actually think this is like more than that and it's pure genius. And here's why. So Chrissy talks about using miso, which is fermented soybean. It's also like the best way to introduce umami to any dish. So, perfect opportunity. Normally carbonara isn't like really vegetarian friendly because it relies on the guanciale for a savory umami bite. But throw in miso and you have that umami. You almost even have some of that smokiness that bacon brings. So I figured my husband hates bacon and some people would appreciate a way to make carbonara without meat. I love bacon, so I made mine in advance. I'm definitely going to use this on my plate. But yeah, props to Chrissy. Like, I think this is genius. Like, throw miso in there, replacing bacon if you really want to. Throw the bacon in if you really, really want to. And it's kind of like the most versatile carbonara recipe ever. Plus, it gives like a really nice nod to Asian traditions of food. All right, so we're going to get started. I have got mushrooms, which I'm adding to the dish to kind of layer into my riff. I love mushrooms. I actually think mushrooms are good in carbonara. I know it's not traditional, but I'm totally fine with it. I love kind of the earthy depth that they add. So I had these on for a couple minutes earlier. This was about a pound of oyster and maitake mushrooms from King Mushrooms at the Waverly Street Farmers Market. Waverly Farmers Market at 32nd Street. They have been killing it this year with the mushrooms. Love them. Use them weekly. So anyway, these have just been sitting, sauteing, relatively undisturbed for some time now. I am going to let them, I'm going to turn the heat up for just a moment or two to just get them a little bit crispier. And then I'm going to let them cool down a little bit. The mushrooms are going to add really interesting texture, really interesting earth, and almost some funk to this recipe. And I just figured it was a way to just kind of enhance what Chrissy already put out there as perfection. All right. So while we get that going, I'm going to start the sauce. This recipe is really super simple. It's going to come together very, very quickly. Okay, on second thought, these look fine. So we're going to turn that off and let the heat cool down a little bit. Now, one of the keys to this is going to be allowing the eggs to come together in the sauce without scrambling. That's like the only technique part of this. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the boiling water that I already have going. Probably about 2, maybe a little bit more tablespoons, and put that to the side in like my cute little mini water pitcher. Put this back on. Turn the heat back up so it gets to a rolling boil. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my egg yolk. So, Chrissy's recipe calls for 3 whole eggs. I'm a purist, so I think carbonara should be made with egg yolks only. It honestly really doesn't matter. But I decided to substitute that with 5 egg yolks. So I'm going to drop them in the bowl and break them up and start whisking them. So now we're going to add the rest of the sauce ingredients. So Chrissy's recipe calls for, I believe it's 2 tablespoons of white miso. I pretty much doubled it because I'm obsessed with miso and because I took the bacon out of the core recipe. So I doubled it. So I've got about 4 tablespoons of white miso. So we're gonna work this in. White miso can be a little thick depending on the kind you get. So this is the part where you need to take care that you break it up so it's not super, super clumpy when we actually pull the sauce together. Next, I'm gonna add sambal olek. You'll remember sambal olek if you watch my first instructional when we did the bolognese that was Indonesian inspired. So this is kind of a funky, garlicky chili paste. It is spicy, so just be careful. I think this is tolerable from my husband's perspective, so not too worried about it. So we're gonna work that in. And then, since I love garlic, but we're not necessarily going to really cook this sauce, I didn't want to add raw garlic because I felt like that could be like too bitter or too bracing. So I got some garlic powder. We're going to sprinkle that in, and we're going to work that into the sauce at this point. Finally, the last step, I'm going to throw in the black pepper. I clearly use a ton of black pepper. So, now that has come together, we're going to go over to our boiling water. So the way that this whole dish comes together is that you take hot pasta, eggy, yolky based sauce, and combine them to make a rich, silky sauce quilt to put on the pasta, which sounds kind of gross, but it's delicious. So what we need to do is we need to cook the pasta, drop it into the sauce mixture, move it around, add the cheese, and hope that it all comes together smoothly. I decided to do a little bit more of like a pantry rate approach, and I'm using the dried ramen, again, reference to my first tutorial. And I love it because these cook very, very quickly, like 3 to 4 minutes, so we won't have to really wait around for a dry spaghetti or dry fettuccine. But honestly, you can use whatever pasta you want to do. You could even use fresh if you really liked. So, I've got my 12 ounces. I'm going to drop them right in to the water. I'm going to let them move around and get cooking. I cannot cook them all the way because they do need to cook in the sauce. So I'm going to throw the sauce base right into the mushrooms. And now the mushrooms have a lot of moisture just naturally. So they're going to be they're going to really help the sauce come together. Because they're cooked, they're not going to absorb any of the fat or moisture from the yolk, so I'm not really concerned about that. So I'm just going to work those in now so they're combined. Alright, so we're just going to make sure that our pasta is cooking. It's looking good. This is giving me like high school flashbacks. I think pasta, like a regular dry pasta would be totally fine. I happen to love dried ramen. I love like the chewy, bouncy texture. So honestly, like in any of these recipes where we're like trying to honor Asian traditions with some of the sambal ola flavors, the scallion, so on and so forth. I am 1000% on board with using dried ramen because I love it and I think it really, really like pulls everything together. And like red wine is back because obviously it's Italian. So now that the hot water that we had put aside is cooled down and this really won't scramble anything, I'm gonna go ahead and slowly add the hot water to our sauce base. So we're getting our sauce base ready to work in with the pasta. So the whole point of adding the hot but not boiling water is to start the distribution of flavor. All right, so it looks like we are just about ready to start dropping our ramen noodles in. Again, like if you're using dried pasta or dried spaghetti, whatever, you're gonna have to be conscious of the time because that will take quite a bit longer. So you'll notice I don't have any heat on with my mushrooms and egg yolks right now because if I did, I would be scrambling them as we speak, and that's like exactly what you don't want to do. All right, so we are just about ready. And I'm going to start moving the noodles into the sauce. So I'm going to I don't want to take a ton of water in with me, but I do like the idea of some of the water coming with to help the sauce form. I'm going to start working that in. I'm going to drop first my pecorino romano. With that going in there, we're going to go back and dip. Oops. For some more pasta. Again, I'm fine with pulling a little bit of water in. I think that's going to help the sauce come together. Go ahead and take another dip really quick. And drop that in. My right hand move that around. I'm so ambidextrous. Throw in the Parmigiano. And I'm going to turn the heat to very low to allow this all to really come together. All right, so now this is really just going to meld under very low heat for probably about 2 minutes. At which point, we're going to taste. In fact, we can probably taste it right now. That is really great. It is spicy, so I don't want to add any more chili paste to this because I think it will be too much for my husband to eat. But this is the point where Chrissy advises to add chili flake or more of the chili paste or sriracha even if you want to up the flavor. So yeah, all right, this is where I leave you. The next step is we're just going to toss a bunch of these beautiful fresh scallions on top once it's in the bowl. And I even have some extremely spicy Thai chilies that we're going to throw on top of mine, not my husband's. And yeah, again, obviously bacon for me only. But yeah, so anyway, enjoy. This recipe is really simple. That came together very, very quickly, as you can probably tell. And I hope you enjoy and support Chrissy Teigen. Cravings. Yes, carbonara. Thanks.